Namaste. In this video, we are going to discuss the synthesis or fusion of yogas. In Sanskrit, there's a beautiful word for it. It is called Yoga Samucchaya. This is a very important concept, and in practical spiritual life for all sadhaks, it is a very important thing to know. Because we tend to ask questions like this. Suppose my aim is Advait Vedant, the realization of Advaita. Do I have to practice Bhakti Yoga? Many people ask such questions. Or if the goal of my spiritual life is love for God, then do I require the Jnana Yoga? So when we have questions like this, we must understand primarily that all these 4 yogas which have been prescribed, you will find all of them being practiced on both the Bhakti and Jnana Margas. How we do this is what we will be discussing. That is why there is this concept of Yoga Samucchaya or fusion of yogas, or you can say the synthesis of yogas. How you harmonize all the 4 yogas to take you towards the ultimate goal of your spiritual life. Fundamentally, we should understand Yoga. The dhatu there is Yujir Yoge, which means it is union of the Jivatman with Paramatman. It is that point where the human consciousness stands radically transformed into divine consciousness. That point is called yoga. And so the dhatu actually denotes union or to yoke, to join with something, joining the individual self with the supreme self. So subjectively speaking, when you actually practice yoga, you will understand that human consciousness can be transformed. The consciousness that is bound to a body-mind complex can be scientifically transformed in a proper graded way until it becomes divine consciousness. It becomes completely pure consciousness. So that point at which human consciousness stands radically transformed into divine consciousness, that is called yoga actually. Now, the definition of yoga is very beautiful. I can draw it from the Bhagavad Gita straight. The Bhagavad Gita says, Tam vidya dukkha sanyogam viyogam yoga samnitam, which means yoga actually pertains to that state where there is no more the touch of sorrow, where the mind has been totally removed from sorrow. It has gone into such a blissful state. That point is called yoga. And the very purpose of yoga is to usher us into our real nature, to usher us into the state of pure being, or what is called pure awareness, the Atman, which is of the nature of existence, consciousness, bliss. That is the very purpose of yoga. Now, traditionally, the practice of yoga requires the practice of all of the 4 commonly known yogas. You know very well there are 4 yogas which are classified as Karma Yoga, Dhyana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga and Raja Yoga. Traditionally, it was always seen, in fact you will find it in the works of both Shankara and Ramanujacharya also, that these yogas have to be combined, which means you cannot be meditating, throughout the day. So then when you are working, you try to practice Karma Yoga. When you are thinking, you try to practice Jnana Yoga. When you are emoting or full of emotion, you practice Bhakti Yoga. And during your meditation hours, you practice Raja Yoga. So a combination of the 4 yogas was always prescribed. And this is what is called Yoga Samucchaya. So you are not excluding any yoga. Please remember this. Whether our aim is the highest Vedant, Advait Vedant, or it is the realization of God through Bhakti, the predominant path is the Bhakti Marga, still we will be using all 4 yogas. They are required to bring harmony into our own system. Because please remember, we have all these 4 faculties of meditation, the inclination to work, the inclination to think, and the inclination to emote. The feeling, thinking, feeling and willing are the basic faculties of any human being. So all of these are trained when we practice the 4 yogas together. And this is what is called the harmony of the yogas or synthesis of the yogas, fusion of yogas, Yoga Samucchaya. It was a very popular concept in our spiritual heritage actually. You will find it coming up again and again. Sometime in the Middle Ages, we lost touch with this idea. But later on, Swami Vivekananda revived it in a big way by giving us the harmonization of all the 4 yogas. And you can think of it in this way. You see, these 4 yogas, as we go on practicing them, you will see it is only in the Gauni portion that we practice all the 4 yogas together, which means the preliminary, when you are moving on the spiritual path, primarily, you need to combine all the 4 yogas, because our propensities are diverse and many times we have various inclinations playing within us. So all of these have to be brought into harmony. That is why you practice all the 4 yogas, but one will predominate always. Either it will be bhakti, or it will be jnana, or it will be karma yoga, the tendency to work very selflessly, or it can even be the meditative state. So one yoga will predominate, and as we proceed into the para portion, that is the higher form of spiritual practice, then you start living with one bhav. So then the yoga becomes singular, which means you are practicing mainly jnana yoga or bhakti yoga, or say karma yoga or raja yoga. But in the preliminary stages, it is called the Gauni stage or the Apara stage, we have to harmonize all the 4 yogas. This is an important point to note. So never debate about this, that if my aim is the highest point of jnana, why should I practice bhakti? You require to practice bhakti because you have a huge emotional life. Many times it happens in spiritual life when you don't work on your emotions, when we don't try to transmute them into something higher, then they can even work against us. So it's a spiritual life is a completely united life, a life where all of our faculties are united towards one goal. And you cannot lead a divided life when it comes to spirituality. For that reason, we have to practice all the 4 yogas. It will lead to refinement of not just our thinking faculty, but our feeling faculty, our willing faculty, our meditative awareness. All of these grow together. So everyone has to practice all the 4 yogas, and the combination, the harmonization of this is what is called Yoga Samucchaya. It has been prescribed as the practical means for the highest realization. Please remember this, yoga serves as the praxis of the Samucchaya and Vedanta schools. They are not contradictory. Philosophically, there may be differences between yoga and Vedanta. They are different philosophies of the Shad Darshan. But in practice, yoga serves as the praxis, which means what you practically do in everyday life about these philosophies. And when this is the praxis, you have to practice all the 4 yogas until we come to a stage when you are actually yearning for that point of realization, which is your special path. You may be actually yearning for the experience of pure awareness, full clarity of pure being. Or you may be yearning for deep transforming devotion to God. So that point, then you become a singular yogi. You start practicing one yoga intensely until it leads you to the highest goal. Until then, Yoga Samucchaya is to be practiced by each and every one. And let there be no doubt about this. I would like to present a slide here. Just look at this slide. It will show you clearly what Yoga Samucchaya is, according to the Indian scriptural heritage. You see, there we have put out the bhakti path and the jnana path. These are the 2 predominant paths. When it comes to spiritual life, a person is usually either a bhakta or a jnani predominantly. But both of them lead to the same realization. Please see this. You can see the arrows put there. And as Sri Ramakrishna used to say, the highest bhakti and the highest jnana point to the same thing. They will lead to the same point of realization. But on the path towards the highest realization, in the bhakti marga or the path of bhakti, you see, you have all the yogas. You have jnana yoga, you have dhyana yoga, and you have karma yoga. When it comes to mukhya bhakti, it is only again one yoga alone, the bhakti yoga alone, which will take you to realization. So also in the jnana path, the Jnana Marga, you have Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga and Dhyana Yoga in the Apara stage. In the Para stage, Jnana Yoga alone will take you to the highest realization. So what it means to say is, you see, when it is the path of Bhakti, Jnana Yoga here means you have some knowledge of the nature of God. the God you're seeking, the God you're loving, the one whom you are devoted to. Jnana Yoga pertains to the nature of that entity, the nature of God. Dhyana Yoga pertains to meditation or upasana on that personal aspect of God. Karma Yoga pertains to actually doing seva, service. So Bhakti Marg, you see how it harmonizes all the 4 yogas. So also on the Jnana Marg, you will see Karma Yoga is mandatory, it is prescribed, it's preliminary when you start Jnana Yoga, because the mind has to become selfless for higher awareness to dawn there. And then Bhakti Yoga, which means your emotions have all to be aligned with your spiritual ideal. And then Dhyana Yoga, meditation, all of these are practiced in the Apara stage of the Jnana Marga also. Please see the slide carefully and you will see all of this covered in the slide. Only when it comes to Para Bhakti or Para Jnana, there at that point you see mainly it is either Bhakti Yoga or Jnana Yoga which takes you to the highest realization. Until then we have to combine all the 4 yogas. In practical spiritual life, you can't meditate for 24 hours a day. You will also have to do service, you will have to do worship, you will have to do prayer, and you have to do meditation. Everything is to be combined, and work, selfless work, all of these are to be combined to reach the highest goal. So this is the idea of Yoga Samucchaya. Although it is there in our scriptures in a big way, as I told you, in the Middle Ages, the idea was lost, revived again by Swami Vivekananda. And you will find in his works, he insisted upon this, knowing the ways of our mind. The way to transcend the mind is through Yoga Samucchaya or the synthesis of yogas. I will conclude with Swamiji's own statement on this. He says, each soul is potentially divine and the goal is to manifest that divinity within by controlling nature, external and internal. And you do this either by work, worship, psychic control, philosophy, by 1, 2 or all of these, and reach the goal. And this is the whole of religion. And books, temples, churches, bells, doctrines, dogmas are secondary details. So you see, he is combining all the 4 yogas in our march towards the highest goal. The whole point is in Vedanta, the goal already exists. Each soul is potentially divine and the goal is to manifest that divinity within. So the yogas help us to uncover the divinity of our own self, which is ever present, ever existent. So this is the point we are trying to understand in this video. Yoga Samucchaya is important. The fusion of yogas is important. Don't deny yourself any one of the yogas. Don't think that just one yoga will take me and I don't need the rest. We all of us having all of these inclinations, propensities require the combination of all 4 yogas to reach the highest goal. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.